What's going on, guys, and welcome back. Today we're going to rank all 54 cards that were released in the year 2023 from Marvel Snap. Now make no mistake, this is going to suck. Cards have been nerfed up, down, left, right, some just freaking deleted from the game altogether. So we're going to focus on the present day version of these cards and give a little sprinkle of history of the past. Now we have 6 delicious, that works, tiers for you today that we're going to rank these cards in. We've got God tier, best of the best, the perfect card, solid card, situationally good, not terrible, but pretty damn close. And then, of course, the worst cards of the year. All right, we're going to kick the list off with Savage Lands. And again, we're focused on the present, not the past. We're looking at the cards now. Zabu being one of those that just obviously was busted for a while. Right now, I think he's kind of the perfect card. I think he's not exactly the best in the game, but really good and played in just so many different decks. For about a year now, is just solid altogether. Now, as for the other 3, some of these were released in just garbage states. It's kind of the divide of 2 different tales. Sauron was one of those cards that, like, I don't know why. Maybe because no one knew who the hell this pterodactyl was. He's just good. If you were playing Sauron way back when in a Shuri list, you could have had Infinite easily every single season. He didn't get, like, super popular for a couple of months. And just, I don't know why he was so slept on. But yeah, he's the perfect card. He could arguably go up there, but I'm going to be kind of strict with that. Next up is Dazzler, who I'm going to put in not terrible, but pretty close. She was god-awful for the better half of the entire year. But now, instead of just being a dumps, terrible card, she's like a dump with a bow tie. She's a little bit better. Anything but dazzling. The stats don't lie. I like her, but nobody plays her. She's not great. Next up, we have Shauna, who I think is just one of the worst cards in the game. I think they released Zabu so busted. They're like, we got to make up for it and release just trash tier cards. Shauna, it just has not seen better days. She's a 3 cost now. Still not played that much. I can't even put her in not terrible. I'm going to put her amongst the worst cards to come out in 2023, unfortunately. But hey, it looks like Zoo has brighter days ahead. All right, next up is our friend that looks straight out of Aladdin. At least that's where I thought he came from. Shadow King, if you looked at the first part of his resume during an interview, you're like, what were you doing with those years? But then he kind of picked up steam towards June. He became a 3-3, and that was really good. Now 2-2 is cracked. He kind of answers everything. I'm probably going to put him in the best. I might bump him down, but obviously just like a very good tech card. And he can make his way into just about any deck. Now, next is February Season Pass into the Quantum Realm. It definitely was a fun one. Came out with Ant-Man the movie. MODOK was the Season Pass card. And this is the perfect card to showcase what happens when a card gets buffed or nerfed. And funny enough, it had nothing to do with him. Like, this guy just took a secondary blow because of Chavez. He would have been damn near the perfect card for a very long time. It's just great and dependable discard. Now he's kind of situationally good, which is painful to see. I think discard's going to have better days ahead of it, but sadly, at this current moment, MODOK is not great. Speaking of not great, we have Ghost, and dude, this card, when Ghost came out, we thought this was going to be so revolutionary. We thought Ghost was going to have a lot of impact. I would damn near say, out of this entire list, one of the most like hyped up cards that just died. Like, an absolute terrible card. Probably one of the worst of the year. Not one of the worst cards in Snap per se, but just nobody plays it. There's not a lot of reasons to play it, especially now with Alioth coming to the game. If Ghost wasn't a dead card, then definitely is now. But then on the other side, we have Stature, who I kind of forgot came out in this month. This was the perfect reason why we needed to get an update to card acquisition. Stature came out, and like nobody played Stature decks. Everybody thought it was very situational. And once she dropped series, then, obviously we had the infamous Black Bolt Stature deck. She went down. She came out as a 5-7, down to a 5-6. I'm going to take this moment to say buff Black Bolt up a power point. I think he doesn't deserve it. But Stature, solid card, has been solid for a while. She was probably the perfect card, maybe even better at one point, but now she's just a very good card that works in a lot of lists. And then we've got Kang the Conqueror, man. I mean, outside of just the problems and the issues in the MCU, and this guy just probably going to get deleted from all that, just, for a big bad. Just a character that is so cool that just sucks. This is probably one of the worst cards to come out this year, if not the very worst. Kang is just never talked about. Like, Kang could get deleted from the game, and I don't know if there would be all but 2 tweets about it. And I want to like him. And I think they definitely should rework him. They've talked about it. They said kind of like, we like what he does, the flavor of what he does. To me, I think they just don't want to mess with the coding behind him. I don't know. Kang is good in like drafted decks. He was good for a brief stint in like the She-Not deck, but he's an awful card. Just not a good card. No reason really to play him. But if you like Conquest, there is like some worldly use for him. All right, now that takes us to March, and we have Nimrod. And dude, nobody... I mean, I get it, like, a lot of you guys are Marvel fans, but, like, nobody knew who the hell Nimrod was. In a season where, like, Negasonic, Kitty Pryde were in the same season, people were like, who the hell is this pink Kirby? And that's kind of how he played. He was a 5/5. Like, there was no reason to really put him into a lot of decks, and it took some buffs to even get him remotely relevant. I remember Dexter and I were, like, testing him the night of, and we both were like, this guy kind of sucks. So, nowadays, I think he's situationally good. I think you can play him in a couple of decks. He's somewhat easy to counter with the state of something like Shadow King, but, you know, not the worst. Master Mold. If this was like, I don't know, a week ago, he would be easily the worst card up there to come out. I still think he's amongst the worst of the year. Ronan is doing a lot better. Maybe you could do not terrible, but close. It just feels off putting him there. I kind of want to put him down in just the worst cards of the year. He's okay in Ronan decks, but that's legit it. That's about the only deck you can play him in because of that. And even though, and he's like cuttable in that in some ways too, I'm going to put him as one of the worst cards to come out this year. Just a flavor miss, man. I think they could do a lot of cool things with Master Mold and just change up his kit altogether. And hopefully that's something we see in 2024. Now, Negasonic up until like a couple months ago was complete garbage, but now I think she is she the perfect card or a solid card? I think she's the perfect card. She may not be played in every single list, but I think she is awesome by design. I think she's going to have a future in Snap for a long time. She's like balanced, but not overpowered, but very good in the game. And I think Negasonic is definitely worthy of this rank. Maybe solid. I might drop her, but definitely a good card. And then we have Kitty Pryde, who was the most broken card to ever come to the game. Then they deleted that card, completely changed her up. And then she was still the most broken card in the game. One of them, at least. She dominated the meta for... There was no reason to play any one drop, right? At that point, just about... Like, there just was no point. She kind of really didn't come out until like another month or so. I think 2 months actually until she came out for everybody. And if you were playing Snap at that moment, you got her for free. Sadly, there's been a lot of nerfs that have taken her down. A small buff, but mostly nerfs. Situationally good. I think even this is kind of nice too. There are some decks you can play with her. And so that, you know, is why I'm going to give her situationally good. But talk about a card that just reigned the top of the meta. We're seeing a common theme here a little bit. And then Glenn Jones just says enough's enough and kills it. All right, the month is April, and it's Animals Assemble. And this was one of those cards that got data mined. I was so pumped. I could not wait to see how it worked in practice. Hitmonkey was certified crack. He was stupid good on release. And I loved the old Hitmonkey. They increased him a cost. Kind of reminds me of a Werewolf by Night. And definitely it took him down a ton. I think he's situationally good. And even at that, not terrible, but close. I mean, right now, he's not played in a ton of lists. Sarah lists don't even play him. But he is underplayed. I'll give it that. So, I don't know. This feels kind of bad. Maybe we put him here. This, man, I might get some crap. I'm definitely going to offend people with this list. Like, that's guaranteed. Then they gave us the worst card in Marvel Snap for a very long time. Like, no question. Like, her and Angel were constantly having just a arm wrestle of who was terrible in the game. And then they made her completely cracked. And then Loki came out. So I do think Snowguard is probably the perfect card. Like, it just does exactly what you want for a one drop. She works in the deck that she's great in. She looks cool. Man, if we were looking at these cards for like the entire year, which would be way too hard and way too long of a video, but like I would love to see where these kind of end up with their history in Snap. If you want to see that, I did a snapshot on like the most busted cards that ever come out. You guys can check that out. But for now, yeah, we'll put her in the perfect card. And then Snap was never the same moving forward. We had Jeff the Baby Landshark, who is obviously god tier. I mean, when this card came out, you can go back and look at some videos. People were like, it's not great. It's just a Nightcrawler. People are overhyping it. There were so many people that whiffed on so many of these cards. And Jeff, I think I gave him a 3-star when he came out. I was like, he's really good, but not, you know, super important. And he has been now a staple, one of the best in the game, and is going to be moving forward. I think he's untouchable. I don't think he's ever going to get any type of nerf. Jeff is definitely god tier for sure. And then lastly, to close out the month, we had Stegron, and I'm going to put him in not terrible, but close. I think Stegron has never had like a home. He's not a bad card, but he's close. He just doesn't fit into any decks. He doesn't serve a purpose really that other cards, you know, don't already do. After Spider-Man and his whole like rework, it just kind of made him even worse. Stegron, not great. Then we hit the month of May, the Guardians' greatest hits, and this whole season was banger. I thought this entire season was awesome. Nebula was one of the least, I don't know, like sexy season pass cards because she's very straightforward, but people do love her. I'm going to give her the perfect card. I think she is really well designed, constantly slept on, and definitely still playable today. Now, following Nebula, I made a video on, I think this is the best card in Snap. And I got a lot of heat for it, guys. I got a lot of heat for saying Iron Lad is an S-tier card. People like to call him mid. Still used in every deck. Nobody does what he does. In a 12-card deck game, he's just cracked. He's God tier. He's best of the best. There's no reason to not have Iron Lad in your collection. He's stood the test of time, and he obviously belongs with the top. Shadow King's kind of like standing out a bit here. I might move him down later, but for now, we'll keep him here. Then we had Howard the Duck, which is like, woof, just a card and a half. We're going to give him a probably worst card of the year status. I think, oh man, Howard is one of those cards that is, you know, when you see somebody play him, you're proud of them. You know, you're like, hey, thanks for letting me see something I haven't seen in over 1,000 games. Howard just doesn't belong in any deck. He can work with decks, Jubilee, you know, he can work with before Chavez even, and then of course Iron Lad, but he's taking a spot for another card that needs it a bit more. He's just definitely one of the worst in the game. And then we got High Evo, which was probably the most hyped card that Snap ever got. I think so. This might have been the most hyped and excited card that delivered, right? Like Loki was great, but no one was hyped about Loki at first. Whereas High Evo, everybody knew they wanted him. Everybody saved up like it was Christmas for their tokens to get High Evo, and he's still one of the best cards in the game. Not a lot to say here. We know he's just busted good. And it was super cool because it was like a bunch of cards coming out at once. Oh my god, there's another card. Living Tribunal came out this month too. What the hell? What a crazy good month. This might be one of my favorites. I think Living Tribunal, the TLT, is probably a perfect card. He's not like tier-wise the best card, but I love what he does. I think he's perfectly balanced. We're seeing right now one of the best decks in Snap have him. So we're going to put him here just because of the amount of power that's coming to the game with cards like Blob and all types of things to build up Living Tribunal. He's almost impossible to beat without tech cards, so you got to love it. All right, June, we have Spider Versus, and we have Ghost Spider, who we thought was going to change move decks forever. We thought move decks were about to become insane. Albeit, I still think they're okay. They're just never played. Ghost Spider has seen a lot of buffs, nerfs. Obviously, when it came out, wasn't that great. With how much you see it, I want to put it down here. We're going to put not terrible, but close or just rarely used. Now, next up is Silk, who had just a ridiculous day in the meta. Just was all over meta decks constantly. The Rise of Kraven. We saw a lot of these with Silky Smooth decks and all that good jazz and fun names. I think Silk is going to get probably by definition the perfect card as well. A solid card in how much it's used today, so maybe I'll drop it down there. I think it's perfectly designed, if that makes sense. In the meta right now, we'll put it a little bit lower. Maximus especially just is probably better to play. Just did a Sarah 2-drop deck, didn't have Silk in it, but very good. Right up there with stature, makes sense. Good old Spider Ham, guys. Oh man, this card was so busted when it came out, and now it is slept on, and I think it's situationally good, maybe even solid. Is it solid or situationally good? I think I'm going to go situationally good. It can disrupt. Now we're going solid. It can disrupt. It can get, you know, it can really pester your decks. You can get Werewolf by Night built up. It's had a lot of meta days. This one is right on the cusp. I kind of want to put it lower than that, but I think it's played in enough decks right now, and it definitely is a nice tech card to really disrupt your opponent. And then last, oh my god, it's like sometimes a card is so cool, guys, that people feel the need to just say that it's good even though it's not. Spider-Man 2099, one of the worst cards of the year. Just completely not good. There's really no use to use them, especially in move decks. Heck, if you generate a deck with him now, it puts him in decks where you can't even move him. He has a 6 power stat line for a 4 card, so it's middle of the pack. At least you can use him for that. Just, they gotta do something with him, but he is up there, if not the clear-cut winner of the worst card outside of just like a couple. Rise of the Phoenix July hit, and we got Phoenix Force. That was the first card I believe that we saw was buffed in the month it came out. I think like a week after launch, they, Ben Brode called up and said, hey, we're not selling any of these passes. And Glenn Jones gave it the old 1-2. I do think it is probably just, it's a solid card. I think the stats are good. Obviously, the decks that you can play it in now are awesome. People don't understand how much of a combo deck it truly is, kind of like Mr. Negative. So solid season pass card, I think, is my overall review for Phoenix Force as of right now. And then we have Jean Grey, one of the most iconic characters that just we were waiting for a while. And I still think out of almost every card, out of every card that I've talked about, this is the card that puzzles me. I don't know why people don't play her. She's so good at disrupting decks. She kind of disrupts you, but not all that much. I want to put her in solid card. I think I'm going to get a lot of crap for this one, but I'm going to stand my ground. I think Jean Grey's just not played a lot, but she's good. She's a good card, not played enough. Then we've got Echo, who is probably situationally good, if not just a solid card. Right now in the meta, if we're going by today's standard, it's a solid card. Definitely doesn't feel like that, and you've got like two divided camps. Those that like Echo and those that don't. I think she is really good because of the ongoing meta. If the ongoing meta disappears, then she's definitely just situationally good, just not used for a 1-drop. But she can definitely hold her own for a 1-drop in the middle lane with Miss Marvel. It's one of the few things that keep her in check. Oh my God, Legion. This is how, there's some periods in time where I feel like the Snap community just whiffed. A lot of people just, we've escalated, we've evolved, if you will, as a Snap community. Everybody just dumped on Legion. Location and the ability to manipulate locations, nobody really thought it would be that good. Obviously, Legion is just cracked. Very good card. I think it's the perfect card. It's probably my favorite card in Snap right now, and it was a pleasant surprise as a Series 4 release in the month of July. And then, good God, we got Mirage last. This whole month was like cards that don't get played enough, or just people don't. It's good. Like, Mirage is a solid card. Mirage, even without Loki, is a good card. Love the tempo play. She's never really played, but I think you can definitely slot her into decks if you have her. All right, now August brings Big in Japan, the season pass, and we thought this month was going to be so dope, and it really was not that great. Dakin, Dakin, that was the big, debate to begin the month, and I think he's a solid card. Is he situationally good? Probably situationally good. I think there's not enough decks to use him, and he's okay. He's got a good stat line, but I don't know. Maximus is a 2/6 now, so it's so hard to put cards in destroy decks. So for that, I would say one of the biggest letdowns for a season pass card, just because of the hype that was behind him. Now after that, we had a lot of weird cards. Lady Deathstrike, who needed a lot of buffs and still needs a lot to even make her used at the moment. I think she's not terrible, but close. She has uses. We don't have enough cards that she can really make an impact for how much she costs. And they can't do a lot to tweak her numbers. So I am going to put her here, even though you could twist my arm and I could put her as situationally good. Silver Samurai, kind of weird. It looked like it was Destroy Month, but kind of there was some discard stuff in there. Really just silver. Again, I think not terrible, but close. You can use them in some great stature Black Bolt lists, but other than that, the card's just not played. Discard is going to rise up, but for now, he's not. He's kind of rarely used. And then lastly, we had X23. We all knew she was going to be insane. One of the best cards to really take Destroy to the next level, and it kind of always kept it at that. The perfect card in every sense of the word. I love X23 and the balance around her. We thought she was truly going to bust the game. She did a lot for the deck, but it didn't break everything. And then just like that, guys, we had the most busted season of all time. I mean, truly, if you look at the entire season, especially now, but back then, the most busted season, Loki of all time. Loki is God tier now. He was even more busted then. I put him as my most busted card on release, and just, I don't know. I'm thinking Glenn's birthday must be in the month of September, because this whole month is cracked. It's stupid good. You can't say anything bad about most of these cards. After Loki, the next week we got Alith. I think it was the next week, which, like, dude, I bet you Snap lost like half their player base for a couple weeks when these two came out. I'm also going to put this in the God tier. Why not, right? I know he's gone down a ton, but still, Alith is what he is. Nobody can do what he does. He's been nerfed now a billion times. Cards around him has been nerfed. The purple fart cloud, as many call him, he's a reason of just a lot of pent-up hate towards Snap. Then we had Ravonna, who was a colossal letdown, but then got much better and now way better, going from a 3 cost to a 2 cost to 3 power. I kind of want to give her the perfect card. I have her right there with Zabu. I think the cards that she works with, you can build so many decks around her now, and at this moment, I have her as the perfect card. I've been on the Ravonna train for a long time, and I'm staying on it. And Mobius again, all these cards came out together. This top 3 row was probably collectively the most hated Mount Rushmore of freaking cards to come to the game. Then they killed him, and then they made him pretty good. He's going to be situationally good. I think he's underplayed. He, really counters a ton of decks. You could probably even say in this current meta, actually, we'll bump him up to a solid card. Mobius, I feel like is kind of at the perfect spot. Then we had the October Bloodstone season. Again, Elsa, really good card. They tamed her, and then they tamed her for no reason. Right now, probably solid, maybe even less. I think situationally good, depending on the deck. We had a long meta of Nightcrawler, Jeff, moving cards all around. I'm going to put Elsa in the middle of the pack right around now. Then we had the Man-Thing, who's also situationally good. I think he's a ton of fun. Luke Cage getting a giant nerf just kind of hurt his case. You can run a Man-Thing deck, and he definitely has a nice, huge swap in power if they are playing something like Thanos. But Thanos lists these days just have big blob cards, so, you can't really even play him there. I think most of the time Man-Thing is playable, but for now, this is kind of where he belongs. Then we had the Black Knight, who, after the Ebony Blade buff, has become awesome. We're going to put him as a solid card. I think the Ebony Blade is one of the best cards in the game, but for what you need to do to get it, Black Knight is going to be a solid card, just really good across the board, and gave discard a different playstyle that I love. Then we had Nico, who some of the best players in the game said she's too random, she's not going to be good, don't buy her, and then she became cracked and is one of the best cards, and right up there with Legion as one of my favorite in the game. This makes me want to put Legion up there too, but I'll put him as the perfect card. I think Nico is just god tier. Easily one of the best cards within Snap, no question. One drop, so much flexibility, cloning cards, drawing 2, making demons. You name it, Nico does it, and just I want to see more cards like Nico. And then we have Werewolf by Night, and if I made this video a couple of weeks ago, god tier. Right now, I think it is a very solid card, if not a perfect card. I think in his current state, he might be exactly where he needs to be, so I'll put him as a perfect card. People got sick of him pretty fast. He wasn't really hyped up for how good he ended up being. And then you combine that with Loki decks, and the hate was really flowing through people. But he just got a big nerf. I don't think he'll change again, but for now, he'll be right here. November brought Higher, Further, Faster. Miss Marvel, as you guys know, we're coming, home to some of the cards we just had released. She's a 4-cost, 15 power card. Again, a card that people were like, she's going to be okay. Clearly, everybody was just drunk that day. One of the best cards in the game, no question. Now, after her, we had kind of a weird amount of cards come out. Gladiator, definitely disappointed, but then got much better and is one of the best 3-cost cards in the game. I damn near think he's a perfect card right now. I mean, depending on the deck you're playing, there's no downside to play him. 8 power is ridiculous when old Chavez was 9 power. The current Gladiator is cracked. Annihilus, I can't believe he's been out as long as he has been. I think he's the perfect card. I think he's really well balanced, and I just realized I messed everything up. I'll put him here for now, so it doesn't mess everything up. I think he's the perfect card, though. I think he is definitely good and used in the decks that he's used in. He's great for just value. He made Century and Hood a lot better as well. And so altogether, one of those cards that you just need to buy in your collection. Martyr is better, but still one of the worst cards of the year. I think she's good. If Titania came out this year, I'd also have her here. I get it. There's use for her now. I just don't. There's no way you guys can convince me. I think she's one of the worst cards, no question. Then to close it, guys, we had this month the Hellfire, Gala, and we had Sebastian Shaw, who I think might have been the most underwhelming card. He's not bad. He's situationally good. I would say he's solid. He's definitely solid, just not like the best card by any means. I like what he does. We have been, expecting all these broken cards. I think he's good for a season pass card. Blob is one of the best cards in the game. I don't think anybody really has to question that. Just his, versatility and nobody knowing what number he's going to be makes him insane. Havoc is probably a solid card. I'm messing up my board now, but you guys can see it here. Havoc, definitely a solid card. He's, could be situationally good, but I think people just don't know how to play him. There's a lot of places to play him, and I would put him right up here with most of these other ones. And then we have Celine, who I'm probably going to put as a solid card too. You could argue again, her and Havoc could go down to situationally good. Heck, maybe we even put them down there. I would say they both could go a little higher depending on the archetype. They are pretty close-minded in where you can play them, and they are replaceable, if you will. You don't have to have them in the deck. And there you go, guys. Good God, that was a lot longer than I thought. Every single card, all 54 of them ranked, and I got to hear from you guys. Top 3, bottom 3. I'm going to read all the comments. What do you think are the most busted and worst cards in 2023? Hopefully you guys enjoyed this video. It was a lot of fun. I don't know if people are going to like it, but, you know, I had a good time. Have a good one. Have a great one. If you have not subscribed in 2023, go ahead and help out and do it in 24, guys. Happy snapping.